Hello, we are going to be reading Chapter 1 of the Ballad of Lucy Whipple. The Ballad of Lucy Whipple is about a girl and her mother and her siblings moving to California during the gold rush. Chapter 1, Summer 1849, in which I come to California, fall down a hill, and vow to be miserable here. Mama, I said, that gold you claimed is lying in the fields around here must be hidden by all the lizards, dead leaves, and mule droppings, for I can't see a thing worth picking up and taking home. I did not say it out loud, but I sorely wanted to, for I was sad, mad, and feeling bad. The rocking wagon had upset my stomach, my bottom hurt from bouncing on the wooden seat, and my head ached from too much sun and too much emotion. It was a hot day in late August, and nothing was moving in the heat but the flies, when our wagon pulled out of the woods and stopped at the edge of the ravine. Dense evergreens towered above us, the hillsides so dark with them the mountains seemed almost black, while over all the fierce yellow sun burned in the blue bowl of the sky. All was silent, with an impression of immensity. Later, folks would call it majestic, noble, imposing, magnificent, but not me. Awful, I said, climbing out of the wagon. Just awful. And I thought with longing of snug spaces, of tree limbs that touched the ground, and enclosed safe places within, of the big chair in Grandma Whipple's parlor, cozy with the curtains pulled round, of the solidity of Grandpop's strong arms, and rock walls and houses with porches. California morning Whipple, quit your mooning and come here and help me, Mama called. So I wiped my sunburned face with the back of my hand and went to help. We woke up the little ones, and they, along with the mule and the loaded wagon, were pushed and pulled down the narrow ravine path to the bottom. Sierra, being only 2, fell once or twice, so Butte, acting grown up now that he was 10, put her on his shoulders and continued pulling back on the wagon so it didn't move too fast. I fell too, but since there was no one to help me, I brushed the dust off my apron and took to skittering down again with Sweetheart, the mule, beside me. Finally, in a burst, we skidded down the last feet of the trail to a stop. Everyone, including Sweetheart, was hot and sweaty and dirty. Everyone, especially Sweetheart, was tired and hungry and glad to be done. Mama and I stood and looked at the settlement along the river. The air, heavy with heat and dust, burned my nose and stung my eyes. "Oh, my! Look at this place, California," Mama said. I looked. The ground was sunburned and barren except for patches of scrub here and there. Small tents, shacks, and brush-covered lean-tos huddled along one bank of the river. On the dirt path that served as the only street, several large, tattered tents shifted in the wind. The biggest had SULUNE painted across its front. Saloon, I figured, spelled wrong, but people seemed to have gotten the meaning all right, judging from the noise inside. The hot wind howled. The tents flapped and creaked. Thick dust mixed with the smoke from 100 cook fires, tinted red by the setting sun. Surely hell was not far away. I took Mom's hand. We'd go home now, of course. How disappointed she must be. Mama and Pa had long dreamed of going west, even to naming their family for western places. Me the first, California morning Whipple. Then Butte, Prairie, Sierra, Golden Promise, the lost baby Ocean, and Rocky Flat the dog. When Pa and Golden died of pneumonia the autumn of 1848, people told Mama, "You gotta stop dreaming, Arvella, settle down and take care of them kids." But Mama was not one to listen to what she didn't want to hear. Mule stubborn, her own Pa used to call her. After grieving for a spell over what was lost, she took a deep breath and started to look toward what was to come. Butte, Prairie, and Sierra were caught up in her excitement, but for weeks I lived in fear of what Mama would do, for our small Massachusetts town fitted her like a shoe 2 sizes too small. At night I had dreams of fierce storms that blew us to desert islands, of whirlwinds and whirlpools, of great sea monsters that swallowed the whole Whipple family, including Rocky Flat. Mama had no patience with what she called my wobblies. She sold the house and stable and feed store, gave the dog to Harold Thatcher at the mill, packed us up like barrels of lard, and in the spring took us on a ship with raggedy sails to seek our fortune in the gold fields of California. When we arrived near Broke in the mud and garbage that was the Bay of San Francisco, Minnie Oates, who had come from Connecticut to fetch her husband, said, "Face facts, Arvella. My hogs lived better than this. You best come back east with us." But Mama wasn't going back. We lived on that idle ship for 8 more days, its captain and crew having abandoned it for the gold fields, while Mama stalked through San Francisco in her black dress, new flowered hat on her head, and a copy of the Emigrant's Guide to the Gold Mines. 25 cents, 12.5 cents without the map. Tucked in her reticule, talking to everyone who would talk back, and finally getting herself a job running a boarding house in a mining town. We took a steamer to Sacramento and then to Marysville, where she bundled up us kids in a wagon, bargained a shopkeeper her copper pot from Grandma Whipple for a mule, and trudged 3 days through country jagged hills with mountains, peaks, and valleys, blazing sunshine, and cold sharp nights. All along the way I watched for the gold lying on the ground, the fruit hanging from the trees, the magical possibilities that Mama said awaited us in California. I saw nothing but evergreens, dirt, and sun. Hardly even another human being except for some Indian women grinding acorns by the side of the road. They looked up as we passed, and their tattooed faces frightened me so that I spent the rest of the journey under my old sunflower quilt, crying for my pa and my home and all that was dear to me. And that's how we came to Lucky Diggins, after 6 months on ship and steamer and wagon, with everything we owned in 2 horsehair trunks and a straw basket formerly used to carry chickens in. And here we were. Mama sighed. "Look at this place," she said again. "Ain't it grand?" "Oh, Mama, grand?" It looked to me like the wilderness where Jesus was tempted by the devil. "You said we'd find our fortunes, but I don't see any gold, only rocks and holes and lizards." "Look around, California," Mama said. "Look at the color of the grass, the light trapped in the cracks of the mountains, the sun setting over the peaks. There's gold all around us if you just look." "Mama, I am looking. I'm looking for the school, the library, the houses. Mama, I want to go home." Mama looked at the big trees and the mountains and the clear blue sky and smiled. "We are home, and we are going to be happy here." I looked down at the dirt. Happy? Towed like a barge around 2 continents? With no Gram or Grandpop? No friends, no school, no big bedroom with Grandma Whipple's quilts on the bed and an apple tree as old as Moses outside the window? Happy? Not in your life. Dear Gram and Grandpop, well, we are here, me having puked my way down the east coast of the States, around the entire continent of South America, and up the west coast to California. Your daughter Arvella and Butte and the babies had what the sailors called sea legs and were all over that ship. All I saw for 5 months was the bottom of the bunk above me. I have got very skinny. Butte says I look like a stewed witch. Mama got herself a job running a boarding house for Mr. Scatter, who owns the saloon and the general store here in Lucky Diggins. He said he was peddling whiskey from a wagon, and this is where the mule died, so this is where he stayed. The boarding house is a tent. So are the saloon and the general store. I think if you die here and go to heaven, it too is a tent, only bigger. Lucky Diggins isn't much of a town, just tents and rocks and wind. Besides Mr. Scatter, his grown daughter Belle, and ourselves, the only inhabitants seem to be prospectors with loud voices and dirty faces, porcupines and grizzly bears, lizards, snakes, and birds. The weather is very hot, and it doesn't seem like almost autumn. There are no red or orange leaves. In fact, except for the needles of the evergreens, there are almost no leaves at all. Mr. Scatter says California trees lose their leaves early because summer is so dry and hot. I think they have fallen off and blown to Massachusetts. That is what I would like to do. There is no school and no lending library, no bank, no church, no meeting house, no newspaper, no shopping or parties or picnics, no eggs, no milk, and worst of all, no Gram and Grandpa. I miss you very much. Graham's hugs and Indian pudding with fresh cream, Grandpop's laugh like a locomotive starting up. I could come home and live with you, couldn't I, and sleep in the room where Mama grew up? Please write and say yes. I am now 12. Yesterday was my birthday, but no one remembered, not even me. Your loving granddaughter, California Morning Whipple, formerly of Buttonfields, Massachusetts, and now an involuntary citizen of Lucky Diggins, California. And that's the end of chapter 1.